Lady Bird Johnson left a visible legacy on America through her tireless work for nature. She was an environmental leader, encouraging Americans to embrace and appreciate the beautiful nature around them. Claudia Alta Taylor was born near Karnak, Texas, to the wealthy owner of a 65,000-acre cotton plantation and general store. When she was young, her nursemaid had called her as pretty as a ladybird, and the nickname stuck. She lived around Lake Caddo, an area rich in wildlife. By venturing into nature, she found that she had a love for the environment. She had said, "I like to paddle in those dark bayous where time itself seemed ringed around the silence in ancient cypress trees." Mrs. Johnson was an excellent student and attended the University of Texas at Austin. She graduated with a degree in journalism and history. She said of her experience, "All the doors of the world were suddenly opened to me." At the time Lady Bird met Lyndon Johnson, he was part of Congress, and visiting Austin when he met Lady Bird and fell in love. Lyndon Johnson described Lady Bird as the brains and money of this family. She was a very even-tempered, passionate, and generous woman. Mrs. Johnson also displayed a great work ethic.
She was a very nice lady, very gracious, and very friendly. That way of conversation, she asked lots of questions. And I think that's why she was very smart, because she asked questions and she listened to the answers and learned a lot about a lot of, you can imagine what interesting people she met.
Joseph Hammer got to know Lady Bird through his work at the Wildflower Center. According to him, she was a wonderful person with a great laugh and smile and a delightful voice. In 1941, when Lyndon Johnson served in the Navy for World War II, Lady Bird ran his congressional office full-time. She did a fine job of managing his office until Mr. Johnson came back. She also bought a failing daytime Austin radio station with money inherited from her mother in 1943. With her background in journalism and tireless personality, she brought the station, called KTBC, success. Following her purchase of KTBC, Lady Bird started a company called the Texas Broadcasting Company, later renamed the LBJ Company. She bought several more radio and television stations, banks, and a property. Lady Bird was known as the savvy businesswoman for her creation of the LBJ Company. All of her work for KTBC and running Lyndon Johnson's office proved that Lady Bird was intelligent and willing to work for a purpose. This hard-working personality would show through again later during Lyndon's presidency. When John Kennedy was running for president with Lyndon Johnson as his vice president, Lady Bird overcame her shyness and campaigned for her husband, despite not wanting Johnson to run for vice presidency. Lady Bird became a goodwill ambassador while Johnson was vice president, traveling to 33 foreign countries. Then tragedy struck on November 22, 1963. John F. Kennedy was shot dead while riding in a limousine through Dallas. Lady Bird and Lyndon Johnson were riding in the car in front. Lyndon Johnson took the oath of presidency aboard Air Force One. It was a very sudden task for Lady Bird to be the First Lady, and she was unprepared. Despite that, she and Lyndon handled the challenge well and healed a mourning country. Lady Bird supported many of her husband's programs he implemented as president, like the War on Poverty. She was also the national chairperson for Head Start, a program dedicated to ensuring that young children had proper amounts of food and access to medical care. In the fall of 1964, Lady Bird proved to the country that she could be an active contributor to her husband's presidency. She undertook a 4-day whistle-stop tour through the South, called Lady Bird Special. The South opposed Lyndon Johnson's Civil Rights Act. Lady Bird, having deep ties to the South, could understand their unrest. The campaign allowed her to advocate her husband's political beliefs and defend civil rights in an effective way. It was true that Lady Bird was a passionate person with many issues to campaign for, but there was one thing closest to her heart: the environment. Lady Bird had once said about nature, "The environment is where we all meet, where we all have a mutual interest. It is the one thing all of us share. It is not only a mirror of ourselves, but a focusing lens on what we can become."
She was kind of a visionary in that she looked ahead and she was thinking about the environment and ecology back in the 1960s when most people weren't. She was thinking about clean air, clean water, an attractive landscape and a healthy landscape.
Lady Bird was inspired to save the environment after Lyndon Johnson's Great Society speech. She greatly disliked seeing man-made objects interfere with and endanger natural beauty.
The answers cannot be found in piecemeal reform. The job really requires thoughtful interrelation of the whole environment, not only in buildings but parks, not only parks but highways, not only highways but open spaces and green belts. For beautification, to my mind, is far more than a matter of cosmetics. To me, it describes the whole effort to bring the natural world and the man-made world into harmony, to bring order, usefulness, delight to our whole environment. And that, of course, only begins with trees and flowers and landscaping.
She often made a connection between ugliness and crime. More beautiful surroundings meant happier people, leading to better societies and less crime. She took the initiative to encourage others to garden and preserve nature. She, along with other members of the First Ladies' Committee for a More Beautiful Capital, planted 2 million bulbs and over 1,000 trees around Washington, D.C. Lyndon Johnson also supported her cause. He created a bill, inspired by Lady Bird, the Highway Beautification Act. This bill prevented billboards, advertisements, junkyards, and other man-made items of the sort from being kept near highways. Instead, that area would be used by plants and animals. Lady Bird Johnson truly did make highways much more beautiful. Today, many wildflowers on the sides of major highways have been able to grow because of the Highway Beautification Act. While this was a major step in environmental conservancy, Lady Bird did not stop there. She protected many of America's natural areas and parks. In 1964, she dedicated the Flaming Gorge Dam and said a speech. After Lyndon and Lady Bird's White House years, they went back to Texas. However, Lady Bird was appalled by the amount of urbanization and highways that took up space in once undeveloped areas. She decided to make another impact in Austin. Lady Bird spent 5 years on a project, Austin's Town Lake, now named Lady Bird Lake in her honor. She turned a junkyard into a beautiful trail with some of Texas's finest wildflowers. Finally, at 70 years of age, she started the National Wildflower Research Center in Stonewall, Texas. The center is devoted to educating the public on natural beauty. Lady Bird donated $10 million to the center for research on native plants.
I think she has changed society today. The whole idea of native plants, things that are indigenous to a region, has taken hold across the country. People didn't even think about those things even 20 years ago, much less 50 years ago. Lady Bird, it was her influence who got all the beautiful wildflowers planted along our highways. And Mrs. Johnson did think that not only were those things good for the environment, they were good for the soul.
Lady Bird was definitely successful in her efforts to promote environmental protection and to get citizens involved. She was able to accomplish this through her strategic and diligent nature and her lifelong passion for the environment stemming from her childhood. Lady Bird Johnson left a great legacy on America. Her tireless passion for the environment helped preserve America's natural treasures. She is the reason why so many people can enjoy the beauty of nature today.